Hello everyone and welcome to my ENTO 320 at Texas A&M Honeybee Biology YouTube project presentation. My research topic was on how regurgitation can assist in bodily cooling for the species Apis mellifera, otherwise known as the European honeybee, which is also the species of bee that we are most familiar with. This is a picture of the Apis mellifera in case you were confused as to what it looked like. Some people get honeybees and bumblebees mixed up. So my question was, how do honeybees cool themselves down while flying or when they're overheating? When honeybees fly, they actually generate heat, which in turn can lead to overheating. So how can this be remedied? Just some quick introduction to honeybee biology and anatomy. As mentioned in class, when bees fly, they utilize their longitudinal and vertical muscles, as you can see in the picture. And this muscle usage actually results in a dissipation of heat within the bee, as muscle use does for all creatures, actually. For humans, we sweat whenever we are overheated, usually when we're working out or doing some type of exercise, because muscle usage results in a heat output. Some more anatomy is that the thorax is actually considered the warmest part of the Apis mellifera's anatomy due to this rapid contraction of muscles. And some even go as far as to say that the thorax is the only contributor to overall fluctuations in the honeybee system's heat, because any other process that takes place is deemed not significant enough to actually affect the overall body temperature of a honeybee, which I thought was really interesting. This is just some general information I provided for reference for the general temperatures in Apis mellifera. The main takeaway is that when the ambient or surrounding temperature is really warm, such as in the summer, the thorax is already starting at a lower temperature. As you can see, the spring average temperature is 35% or 35.7 degrees Celsius. I don't know why I said percent. And the summer is 29.3, which is really interesting because in the summer you would think that bee would be hotter, but in order to offset this, they already start at a lower thorax temperature. This image is showing the thoracic and head conduction of honeybees in relation to the square root of wind velocity. This is just to show how temperatures can relate to how fast a bee is flying and how much work they're putting into flying. So when there's higher wind velocity and more energy is being used, the bee is also heating up, as we can see as we move along the x and the y axis. The x-axis is the wind velocity, which is the independent variable, and the y-axis is the change in heat in degrees Celsius, also with energy. This picture or this graph shows the calculated net heat exchange of honeybees in flight at various velocities under clear sky conditions. So we can see as the temperature increases, the net heat flux also increases, which just goes to show that honeybee temperature relies also on the ambient temperature. Just some interesting points I found within this desert Apis mellifera study was that foraging honeybees have an approximate heat budget of about 30 to 35 degrees Celsius, and that visual observation showed that these honeybees would regulate their head and thorax temperatures by regurgitating droplets of honey stomach contents, which were then evaporated, kind of like how humans sweat to cool themselves down. Also, bees returning with a droplet on their tongue increased when the environment temperature increased. To be more specific, at 20 degrees, no bees utilize this method of cooling with the evaporation method, while at 40 degrees Celsius, about 40% of returning bees to the hive started using this method. Just some other points that I found. Additionally, Wing loading and thoracic temperatures of bees are inversely correlated at high ambient temperatures, and in the summer, when temperatures are high, the bees are more likely to utilize the evaporation of droplets method to reduce their thoracic temperature. Another study aimed to show the mechanisms of body temperature regulation in honeybees, and it involved tethering honeybees and adjusting the ambient or surrounding heat. When these tethered bees were heated on the head until their head temperature reached about 46 degrees Celsius, the bees started utilizing the regurgitation method by regurgitating nectar from their honey crop and allowing it to evaporate on themselves. This figure shows just how, over time, um, with the increasing temperature, the amount of bees that were protruding this fluid in order to cool themselves down increased. So, as temperature increased, more bees used this method. This process was also really interesting to me because it involved violent aortic pulsations whenever they were moving in and out the nectar droplet, which seems kind of, it just seemed very odd and, as I already stated, violent. It was also observed that the head temperature changes fluctuated with heart pulsations, which I thought was really interesting. Another study showed that heart pulsations are typically observed to be synchronous with head pulsations, but during heating and flying, the two were independent, which was very interesting. And the fluid droplets were significantly cooler than the head and remained in this in and out process or motion until the head temperature was about 4 to 6 degrees Celsius lower. So ultimately, at low ambient temperature, the increasing temperature regulation of the thorax also led to an increase of the head temperature. And contrastingly, when the head temperature was low, the heat moved from the thorax to the head as if to maintain homeostasis in its own way. And as I already stated, when it got too hot, bees would result to the sort of sweating mechanism where they would regurgitate droplets of water in order to cool down their head area. The significance of this research topic is that it is important to understand the cooling processes of bees so that their tendency to work towards homeostasis will not be interrupted or disturbed. That goes off of the third point as well. Regurgitation is not only used for honey production, so if one is aware of this cooling process, they can proceed to correctly identify bee behavior instead of trying to intervene when there's no intervention required. I know a lot of humans try to help out wildlife, but it would be really great to know that this isn't actually an issue and it's something natural that happens. Additionally, the overheating of bees explains their flight patterns and the correlation between bee sightings and temperatures throughout the year. And this is my work cited. I hope you enjoyed my presentation and that I enjoy this class a lot. And I'm looking forward to seeing everyone else's presentations for this project. Have a nice day.